What is going on, all of you mortgage maniacs out there? I'm Thomas Meister, the loan officer's agent, excited for this week's Gainers and Losers video. I'm not at home, obviously, but I'm super excited. I'm going to share my screen here, and we're going to get started with the top three gainers for the IMB, bank, and brokers models. So what you can see here as soon as this loads is we're going to be using a weekly report that I generate using the platform called Redder. If you've ever seen this before, you're not familiar with it, I highly recommend that you go check it out. I'm going to have a link in the description so you can get more information. Go straight to Redder if you're in the mortgage industry. And every single week, we compile a list of the top companies. It's actually the top 1,000 gainers and losers on the IMB, and then broker, and then bank. And so this basically is from it's in descending order, right? From the most gained loan officers right here to the losers on the bottom, but I'm not going to show you yet. Stick through to the end of the video if you want to see who the top losers are for this week's report. But let's get started. This week, the number one gainer, CrossCountry Mortgage. They actually routinely are on the top of this list. So obviously they're the largest IMB in the country. This week, gaining 15 loan originators. However, remember, just because you gain originators doesn't mean that translates to production. Oh, and by the way, since we're here, super cool is that you can sort in Redder by the time period that you're referencing, right? So as you can see right here, 15 net gained, right? 15 gained. That's for 79, almost $80 million of annualized production that they brought in. But if you click it, you can also see who, right? So this is the fun part of the video, which is where we start to analyze and start to, who are the people that moving, but why? We can speculate a little bit as to why, right? Look for patterns and things like that. So, and you can always check out all the previous week's gainers and losers videos that I've been doing. We also like to count the number of $10 million plus producers that come into an organization because that's a good sign of growth. Like if you're attracting good talent, then that says something, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to give it, sometimes there's holes in the data. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say that this is a $10 million plus producer. So 8 people coming into CrossCountry Mortgage. There's no real theme here. However, when you see this new or previously inactive, we're going to click on one of them just so I can show you what that means. Is that, oh, and this person's actually, okay, so this is 2 things at the same time. Number 1 is, let's go what we came here for, which is their license. There's a gap in their license probably, so that's why this person is showing as new or previously inactive. Correct. So they stopped on 115 and they were hired on 311. So that's why there's a gap here between when they were at Inspire and now CrossCountry. However, Inspire, I know that name. I don't know if are they a builder? Because this person did exclusively builder business, right? Mostly purchase, right? Purchase for 3.5, but mostly new builds. So my quick thought theory here, right, is this trend, is this going to continue? Is this person going to have a repeat of all of this business? I don't know the answer to that. I would think maybe not, because if there was a gap in their employment, they were probably let go, right? Like builders who have a lot of LOs. Oh, and look right here. This is another good thing. As you can see, they're realtors, right? Like they're referral partners. There's not a lot of strong loyalty here. So we're not going to have the opportunity to deep dive into every single person, right, on these weekly videos, but killing 2 birds with 1 stone, or actually I guess that was 3 because the types as well, right? I'm not going to be clicking on every single one of these people. If you want to do that, then you need to subscribe to Redder. Again, go ahead, click the link in the description. So 8 $10 million plus producers coming in. What about leaving? Okay, so losing a big producer and inactive, meaning their license isn't active someplace else yet, so we don't know where that person has gone. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 $10 million plus producers leaving. So, and again, net gain of 15, $79 million, a great week for CrossCountry Mortgage. Zillow is an online lender, so we're not going to be counting them. Number 2, guaranteed rate, who arguably the second, or if you combine all their companies together, maybe the number 1 largest IMB in the country. So it was 13. I'm just going to verify that. Yep, 13. So net gain of 13 loan officers for $157 million of annualized production. Wow, that's pretty big. So so far, guaranteed rate being the number 1 winner for this week. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 $10 million plus producers coming in. No real trends that we can see here. Actually, let's just super quick. We're not going to look at him, but we're going to scroll down. Oh, he's a new builder as well. What's with the guaranteed rate and CrossCountry bringing those people in? So he came from, wait, Hold on a second. Doesn't show as active with guaranteed rate yet. So that's interesting. But he left DHI, so that's a builder. Huh. That's an interesting gap in the data there, but obviously his license is somewhere now active, maybe just not reflecting yet in his licensing history, but okay. But also another builder. So goes to show that it helps to, trust but verify with everything. You want to make sure that, and good point right here is we can track it on a weekly basis. It's easy to track how many new licenses are coming in and out of an organization. It is not as easy to track the annualized volume, right? You look at a company's volume on a weekly basis, a loan officer from the previous week could have finally gotten credit, or some of the loans he closed previously now show in his name. It's not reliable at this point. So we're going off of the number of loan officers, but super interesting to always watch out for. Does gaining or losing loan officers mean you actually gained or lost production? That's what we're going to find out. We're going to take a look at the number 3, gainer in real estate loan officers for this week. And yep, translating to some positive growth for New American Funding. Net gain of 12 loan originators for almost $60 million of annualized production. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 $10 million plus producers coming in. Excuse me. Probably means some good ones are going out. 1, 2, 3, $10 million plus producers going out. All right, but a good week, right? $60 million. Good week for New American Funding. One thing I decided I wanted to do was do some honorable mentions, right? We're not going to click on them and dive into them, but we're going to look at them just so that way every single week we can pay attention. American Financial Network, AFN, right? They are a large IMB. You can see right here that, they're a $2.4 billion company, net gain of 9 loan originators. And this percentage, right? This shows what percentage of originators is that, right? So technically, so far out of everyone we've talked to, they, on a percentage basis, gained the most amount of LOs. So you could argue that it's a bigger gain win for them, but not going to dive into it to see if it actually, that means new production, because they could have lost production. But actually even bigger, that's a servicing. Lakeview loan servicing, right? Free education here, pro tips on some of these companies you can't count, right? Cardinal Financial, they've actually been on losing a lot of people recently. So for them to gain 8 loan officers, 2.13%, that's actually the biggest gain so far, is for Cardinal. All Western Mortgage. I've been watching this. All Western Mortgage has actually been, they've never been in the top, like even 3 or 5. But All Western is actually quietly like, a ninja flying under the radar. They've actually routinely been sitting here in the top 10, or I guess, I don't know, got to remove those servicers. But in the top 10, I would say that every single week they're sitting in here in the top 10. So gaining 8 loan originators. If you want to see again who that is, like if it's a winner or loser for them this past week, get a subscription. Mutual of Omaha. Not going to count them. They do a lot of like online stuff, equity stuff mostly, in fact, even. So Cornerstone First Mortgage. They have been growing a lot. And in fact, I know somebody personally who just who moved over there. So Cornerstone gaining almost 1%, 7 loan originators. And then let's see, who else are doing? I don't know Point Digital. I don't know. I think I've seen New Era before. Independence Home Loans, don't know them. Nationwide, know the name, but at least they're winning. So just kind of like checking out the top 10 area of those honorable mentions. But again, that doesn't mean just because you gain a couple of LOs, they still could have lost. Actually, if you look right here, this company, no idea who they are, but they're technically 13.33%. They don't have as many LOs, so to gain 6 is huge. But now we're going to move over. We're going to finish the gainers, and then we're going to head to losers, okay? So now we're going to check out our broker buddies. So coming in at number 1, we have the Loan Factory with a net gain of 18 loan originators. And we're going to see if this translates to production. It's a good week. One of the things that we definitely have noticed with brokers is there's a lot more people who, I don't want to say when they have nothing to lose. It's when they're doing builder business or leads, they do make a lot more. Excuse me. They do make a lot more changes, moves. So we've got in here 1, 2, $10 million plus producers coming in and none leaving, right? So, I mean, it's an okay. I would label that as like, okay. That's like a slightly okay week. So coming in at number 2, we have West Capital Lending gaining 15 loan originators. Let's see if that's translating to growth. It is. West Capital Lending, because they actually do so much equity business, refinances, right, and not as much purchase, I would gather that some of these people, it's probably not as big of a win, but net gain of 15, loan originators, $120 million annualized production. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 $10 million plus producers coming in here. And one of those bigger producers is coming from Barrett Financial. We've definitely seen that trend, and it's a continuing trend, is brokers going to other brokers. Just looking at the names here really quickly to see if I know anybody. Every single week, it's a good opportunity to say, hey, did any of my friends make moves? So we got one $10 million plus producer leaving. So good week, actually great week, great week, I would say, for West Capital Lending. Coming in at number 3, we have Nexa. Are they still the biggest? No, Barrett's, I think, taken on the title of biggest, but they're number 2, right? 1 and 2 is Barrett and Nexa. So now we're going to have a look at Nexa. How many licenses did they pick up this week? Okay, 40. So it's an okay week for Nexa. Net gain of 14 loan originators for almost $116 million. Annualized production. One $10 million plus producer coming from Embrace. And not losing any, but losing some smaller people in it, and it kind of adds up. It's okay. It's not flat, unless some of those people, again, are doing business that is not likely to repeat, right? So now we're going to look at honorable mentions again on the broker side. So we've got Barrett Financial Group, the largest broker in the country, a net gain of 8 loan originators, right? And then we've got Coast to Coast Mortgage. I see that name. That's just like All Western Mortgage. I feel like I see that name here in the top 10 on the broker side as kind of consistently at the top. They're not like one of the companies that we've been reviewing and diving into on a weekly basis. But again, that's now where I'm going to start focusing on honorable mention, so I can say these types of things, right? But net gain of 8 loan originators, and that's 2.24% gain in LO count, right? So that's actually pretty significant, and so far the biggest lift for the brokers this past week. Then Primerica, we've actually seen them at the top a couple of weeks. So net gain of 8 right there. Go Rascal, net gain of 4 loan originators. That's 1% gain. I don't know Equity Smart, but gaining 4. And then Next Door Lending gaining 4. And actually, that's the biggest gain for this week so far, an 8.33% gain. Edge Home Finance, they're also one of the other largest, but not a very big week for Edge Home Finance. We've actually seen them on the bottom a couple of times, like as one of the biggest losers. And then, do we know any of these? I don't even know. I don't know who those companies are, but they have huge gains, but they're kind of really small. So that's it for the brokers. Now we're going to head over to the gainers for banks, our friends over at the banks. However, one of the things that makes banks hard is because if you're not really a purchase-based focused like retail lender, like referral-based, most of the LOs at these banks, not like they're fed something or they're using really niche products. So it's not the same as comparing them to really strong retail-focused, purchase-based IMB lenders or brokers. But hey, it's worth always just quickly doing an honorable mentions, right? So you got Fifth Third. I think that's something's wrong with the data there. It's crazy. Getting 1,000. Maybe they bought. Maybe they merged with somebody. You know what? Let's do it. That's just crazy. So now I'm curious. What does that mean? That they're just getting 1,000 loan officers in a week? Is that real? It shows there, and to gain 1,000 loan officers and only $191 million, yeah, you probably bought someone. But let's see what happened then. This is good stuff now. It's going to take a second to load now, and I apologize because it is loading and pulling in all those records individually, so it can show the license movement, right? Because good question. Somebody asked me last week from comments is if you have a loan officer that has multiple licenses, like one person has 5 licenses, another person has 10 licenses. No. This is actually just counting the individual. It doesn't matter how many licenses that person carries. So this is why. Comerica Bank. You can see it. All these people. And interestingly enough, there's barely any producers here. There's 1, 2. This person maybe went someplace else. So 1, 2. Or came from someplace else. 1, 2, 3. 3 $10 million plus producers. Okay? And what about losing? This is the first time I think we've ever clicked on a bank and looked at this. So no losers, because there's a lot of people there who are just bankers, right? Bankers, or they help with loans, but they do other things within the organization other than just they're doing transactions. So interesting, but we just found that out. So Co-America now folding up under Fifth Third Bank. And we got JP Morgan, PNC. Is there any other honorable mentions we want to look at here? So Cornerstone Capital is who I've been told is one of the more purchase-focused lenders. So we're going to pull up their profile really quickly here and have a peek. Very flat, right? They didn't lose anybody and they didn't probably gain any $10 million plus producers. So no. All right. Now we're going to be switching to losers. This is where the real fun is. And I'm not trying to pick on anybody or throw shade. Remember, this is the data, and the data doesn't lie. So if you want to be mad at somebody, then you can be mad at your company, right? Or you should be mad at yourselves if you're with that company. But there you go. Co-America Bank, obviously largest loser for this week because they're now part of Fifth Third. Is there anyone else in here that's worth an honorable mention on the bank side before we move on? Okay, Luminate Bank. So Luminate Bank is very heavy. They're more of actually an IMB lender that operates, so they're a bank that operates like an IMB, is a fair way of saying it. And it's flat. Losing 3 people that didn't even do. But while we're here, let's just quickly look at some other. So the past 2 weeks, nothing really. What about the last month? So last month they've actually lost. Did lose any? No bigger producers, right? And not gaining any. But this is interesting. Like we could always just compare. Okay, over the last quarter, they're actually up, right? Gaining. Okay, yeah, some pretty big producers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 $10 million plus producers, losing like none, losing 1. All right, interesting stuff there. But let's switch this back to the past week. And so that's losers for the banks, which isn't really as exciting as this stuff. Okay, so we want to see the brokers and the IMB lenders, okay, independent mortgage banks. So biggest loser for this week is C2 Financial. So they are actually bigger, right? They're a $5 billion broker and losing 33 loan officers this past week. That is pretty big. That's huge. Okay, but here's the point, and the first person to break the trend for this past week, just because you lose licenses doesn't mean that you lose production. It is that time of year, guys. And unfortunately, if transactions aren't closing and things are tight, right? There's a lot of applications. In fact, I think I read an article that this is some of the largest, weeks or months with as far as application. The amounts of people doing applications have happened. We just had rates hit. I forget how long it was an not all-time low, but like low in the past year or something like that. And then rates went right back up. Probably a lot of people tried to lock right there at that bottom. But as you can see, companies are getting rid of inactive licenses if you're not doing good business. Okay, it looks like one person did join, a $25 million plus producer joined. And then, but who'd they lose? They probably got rid of, so they didn't lose any $10 million plus producers. They just got rid of, and I don't know that for a fact. I'm speculating. Remember, this is the fun part where we get to speculate. So, who else? We're going to look at eMortgage, okay, and then we're going to look at Golden Star. So Golden Star is very small, but I thought we'd look at one of the little guys as well. There's a lot of smaller brokers, obviously, because as a broker you have significantly less overhead. So past week, eMortgage Capital. It's not a good week, but it's not terrible. You gained no $10 million plus producers, and you lost no $10 million plus producers. So you could call it flat or nothing really. So Golden Star, let's see what's happening at Golden Star. And that actually is a good point, something I'll make note of. There's a lot less turbulence in brokers, I feel like I've seen over the weeks. Yes, you're going to have probably some bigger losers, but then you also can see, and Hoot Home Loans, I think they're online lender. We're not even going to dive into that. But there's a lot less turbulence here within the amount of people leaving the broker side week over week, as far as I feel like I've seen. So not a good week for Golden Star. This is the first time we're ever looking at them. Gaining nobody, losing one $10 million plus producer, and that'll do it. That'll contribute to your not very good week. Honorable, I don't even know if are we going to do honorable mentions for losers? There's just not as many other people who've left. If we were to, it's not even worth probably highlighting. Maybe on the IMB side, right? So let's get to probably where there's a lot more turbulence. I was just saying. DHI is a builder, so we're not going to count them. It did lose 22 LOs, but we have loanDepot, one of the largest IMBs in the country, losing 18 loan originators. So they're potentially the biggest loser for this week on the IMB side. Let's see how that looks in production. Yeah, so losing $149 million, or sorry, 140, almost $3 million annualized production, 143 million. Net loss of 18 loan originators. So when you don't gain, and by the way, for the record, just looking here, they do a lot more refi and equity, right? A lot. And purchases, they still do a lot of purchases, which is great. But that's also one of the reasons I think that they're kind of one of the biggest. So if we look at who they gained, they picked up two $10 million plus producers. One's coming from Wells Fargo, the bank, so maybe not likely to repeat. Coastal Funding, is that an IMB or a broker? I forget. I think I've heard the name. And so coming or leaving the company, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so not very good week for loanDepot. Losing six $10 million plus producers. No real theme here. Don't know movement. So IMB, broker, IMB. No real theme here. But loanDepot, probably our biggest loser for this week in terms of number of licenses. Not just number of people leaving, but production. So Fairway coming in our number 2 loser for this past week in terms of people leaving, but okay, and it does translate into production. So net loss of 11 loan originators for $172.5 million of annualized production, gaining one $10 million plus producer from New American Funding, and losing four $10 million plus producers, and this would be why, is because a large group just left Fairway and went to Intra-National Mortgage Inc. We're going to make them our kind of like sneak peek honorable mention because I don't know who that is, but that's where they went. Looks like there's nobody who didn't go there. Oh no, one person went broker actually. And then these shows inactive, so they might end up there as well, right? So not a good week for Fairway, coming in at the number 2 loser for this week in loan officers kind of gained loss. This was a tie. I noticed some American Neighborhood Loans, which is Annie Mac. And then Everett Financial is Supreme Lending. So we're going to look at both because I'm super curious to see how that translates into production. So not a good week for Annie Mac, only gaining 2, no $10 million plus producers, and losing 1, 2 $10 million plus producers. The biggest one going to Guaranteed Rate. And Kind Lending, broker. Okay, interesting. So not a good week for Annie Mac. And then, so Supreme Lending. Let's see what happened over at Supreme Lending this past week. And so I want to kind of compare. It was 5 and 50. So actually, wow, it's like a almost mirror loss for the week, right? Oh, and really quickly, because I did mention the whole loanDepot thing, you can see here purchases, right? This is, Supreme Lending is focused a lot more on purchase-based business, right? loanDepot doing a lot more other type of business, right? So gain of 4, loss of 9 for a net loss of 5. Didn't lose any $10 million plus producers, or sorry, gain any $10 million plus producers, but you lost a $30 million plus producer, and that would be why, because there's a group here going to AFN, American Financial Network. They were one of our honorable mentions up top. So maybe we'll actually open them up as well as another one of our bonus lenders to look at, because they're taking people from Everett, Everett is Supreme Lending, but could they be gaining from someplace else as well? So those were, I don't know if we'll come back in a second to see if we have any honorable. Actually, let's do it now. Are there any other? It's not honorable mention. It's dishonorable mention. I guess this is considered a dishonorable mention because I'm sure they'd rather not. American Pacific Mortgage losing 4. Originators, Nation One also losing 4. There's not as much turbulence here, so it's probably not worth. This is kind of mostly flat. It could be a big swing if we were to click on some of these bigger guys. A mortgage firm, Summit Funding, and we were to see, because they could be gainers for this week, right? Like maybe it's a net loss of 3 people, but it's possible that some of those people were bigger licenses or bigger producers, right? So with that said, let's head into our bonus lenders for this week. So we can see that Intra-National Mortgage, they're actually kind of newer, right? They didn't close any business over here. So, interesting. Now I want to see something. So Intra-National Mortgage. Everyone came from Fairway. Everyone. Every single one of them in the last week. Okay? And now let's look at the past 2 weeks. Same. 3 weeks. Or sorry, month. This is a new company, isn't it? Past quarter, there were some other people. Where'd they come from? New or previously inactive or Fidelity. Okay. So I wanted to look at year. Let's just look at the whole year. So in the last year, International Mortgage has added 39 LOs. They haven't lost anybody, right? So they've been growing, bringing people on, and they're kind of brand new, right? So this is a newer company, Blacklick, Ohio. Interesting. But let's see, 39. Where'd they all kind of, if I were to organize them? Okay, so one group came from A1 Lending team, and they're all smaller. And then Dream Team Lending, one person came from there. First Lending Group, small person. So they've got some one-offs, but mostly Fairway and then A1 Lending as far as where people are coming from. Okay, and Mindset. These are all smaller people as well. And then newer, previously inactive. Interesting. International Mortgage is new, and they're here on the radar. American Financial Network. So past week, only gaining 5 loan originators. We already kind of saw that actually. Or actually, no, we didn't see the other. So there's another $21 million $20 million plus producer, American Financial Network. Wait, came from, he moved. Did he move here? Did they change names? That's interesting. That's 2 weeks. Past month. They're winning over the last month, last quarter. They're winning over the last quarter. Oh, that's why, because this is just a branch. Okay, so we need to redo something. We're going to go to the full company profile, and we're going to go back to the past week. So past week, they're a gainer for the past week. $50 million annualized production, 9 originators. Now let's look at 2 weeks. Let's look at a month. No, they lost a bunch of people over the month. It's kind of like stock market if you think about it, right? It's almost like this is an index. And then over the last quarter, they're actually up, even though they're not as many licenses. 6 month, not as good in the last 6 months. And then last year, not as good in last year, but over the last week, good week for them, right? Over the last week, they've gained 9 originators for $50 million of annualized production. Okay, thank you so much for watching this week's Gainers and Losers video. If you got value from this, I appreciate you making it this far. Please consider liking, hitting the notification bell, subscribing to the channel. You'll get notified when new videos drop. Again, I appreciate you so much for taking the time to watch this week's Gainers and Losers. I'll see you next week's video.